You have only ever seen half of life on Earth. Every night, 10 billion tons of animals rise from the deep ocean toward the surface, all at once. It is the largest migration on the planet, and it happens while you are asleep. On the biggest nights of autumn, more than 1 billion birds cross the United States in complete darkness, a river of birds above your roof that you will never see. And mammals like us were nocturnal first. We are the ones who left. This is the half you have never seen. Human observation has historically stopped at sunset, leaving the vast majority of animal behavior completely unrecorded. When night falls, ecosystems do not shut down. Instead, they change crews. Daytime species retreat to find shelter, and nocturnal animals, those primarily active after dark, awaken to hunt, travel, and communicate. Almost everything humans have filmed, studied, and loved about wildlife has been observed in broad daylight. Yet, this represents only a fraction of the natural world. In reality, roughly 70% of all mammal species are active only under the cover of night. The reasons for this biological split stretch back to the age of the dinosaurs, leaving us to wonder if the very first mammals were forged entirely in the dark. In 1942, zoologist Gordon Lynn Walls described this evolutionary period as a nocturnal bottleneck, which he defined as a narrowed range of ecological opportunities rather than a physical tunnel. For over 100 million years, ecologically dominant dinosaurs ruled the daytime, leaving mammals to occupy the night. Early placental mammals survived this era by avoiding daytime activity entirely. A 2017 study in the journal Nature, Ecology, and Evolution confirmed this hypothesis. Researchers examined the activity patterns of 2,415 living mammal species using phylogenetic reconstruction, a process that analyzes evolutionary relationships to infer ancestral traits. The reconstructed ancestor of all modern mammals was overwhelmingly nocturnal. Mammals expanded into the daylight only after the KPG extinction, the event that removed the non-avian dinosaurs approximately 66 million years ago. While daytime mammals are a recent evolutionary experiment, we still carry the physical inheritance of this ancient darkness inside our own bodies. When the lights go out, human eyes slowly adjust. This shift relies on rods, microscopic, highly light-sensitive cells in the retina at the back of the eyeball that function in dim conditions. Humans adapt to low light, but our eyes are not built for true darkness like those of a cat. Instead, our gradual night vision, acute hearing, and rapid startle responses are physical leftovers from ancestors that lived strictly after sunset. True nocturnal mammals combine these senses using touch-sensitive whiskers, highly mobile ears, and complex scent pathways to map a world they cannot see. While this sensory legacy lives inside individual bodies, the cover of night also triggers a synchronized physical coordination on a planetary scale, starting with a massive, unexplained movement from the deepest, darkest corners of the Earth. Every night, the largest animal migration on Earth unfolds in complete darkness. This movement is called DL vertical migration. Roughly 10 billion tons of animals rise from the deep ocean toward the surface to feed, sinking back into the abyss before dawn. Trillions of zooplankton, small fishes, shrimp, and squid participate in this synchronized journey. During World War II, sonar operators detected what looked like a phantom seabed that rose at night and sank during the day. This acoustic signature is known as the deep scattering layer, a dense, moving wall of living bodies reflecting sound waves. Among these migrants are oplophorid shrimp. They survive using a strategy called counter-illumination, emitting light downward from their bellies to match the faint light filtering from above. This erases their silhouettes from predators below. Lanternfish also join this ascent. They are among the most abundant prey fish on Earth, covered in rows of photophores, which are simply light-producing organs. In this open ocean, light is inverted. It is not for seeing, but for hiding. As these organisms feed and return to the depths, their movement drives a massive biological pump, transporting carbon down into the deep sea. Yet, as these ocean migrants reach the surface, they touch a boundary where another, equally massive night corridor begins just above the waves, carrying a completely different set of travelers into the dark sky. At least 80% of migratory bird species in the United States travel under the cover of night. Depending on the season, this involves an estimated 3 to 5 billion birds. Because the vast majority are land birds flying in total darkness, this massive continental movement occurs entirely unseen. To map this invisible phenomenon, an institutional collaboration called Birdcast, uniting the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, Purdue University, the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, and the University of Massachusetts Amherst, repurposes weather radar. These radar stations emit radio waves that bounce off living creatures instead of rain, using machine learning computer programs to analyze the returning signals and estimate bird numbers. On September 25, 2025, Birdcast recorded its highest single-night migration intensity since live mapping began in 2018, detecting over 1.2 billion birds streaming south. This record does not mean every species flew together, but rather shows a staggering concentration of life aloft. This entire aerial highway, forged in ancient darkness, now relies on a sky corridor that is increasingly threatened by what awaits them on the ground. The surface of the Earth lit by artificial light increases by about 2% every year. Since 2011, the number of scientific studies tracking how this artificial glow affects wildlife has risen sharply, documenting direct physical effects. For species relying on highly sensitive rod cells to navigate the dark, sudden exposure to light causes instant blindness through retinal saturation. This is a temporary state where the eyes are overwhelmed by a sudden burst of brightness and cannot process the image. The disruption also impacts reproduction. Female California tiger salamanders exposed to artificial light at night produce eggs with reduced viability, meaning those eggs are far less likely to develop and hatch. These sensory failures and reproductive losses represent distinct biological outcomes, changing the physical experience of the night. Artificial illumination does more than blind individual animals. It rewires entire food webs. In arthropod communities, artificial light increases the abundance of predators, scavengers, and parasites. This change alters trophic levels, the positions organisms occupy in a feeding relationship, shifting the balance of who eats whom after dark. Even our efforts to study these nocturnal communities can distort them. Research published in 2025 on surveying nocturnal mammals in tropical forests revealed that standard white spotlighting causes immediate blinding and startle behaviors, corrupting the very data researchers collect. While using red light reduces these acute disruptions, it is not a perfect shield. The act of observation itself remains a disturbance, compounding a much larger pressure. Human presence is actively forcing wildlife to alter when they are active. In 2018, a study in the journal Science analyzed 76 published papers tracking 62 mammalian species across 6 continents. Researchers discovered that human disturbances like hunting, agriculture, hiking, mountain biking, roads, and residential settlement drive a global behavioral shift. Mammals become, on average, 1.36 times more nocturnal around people. This relative increase does not mean animals spend more total time awake, but rather that a species once active equally by day and night shifts to 68% nighttime activity. This pattern holds for both carnivores and herbivores weighing over 1 kilogram. Lead author Caitlin Gaynor from the University of California observed, "There are fewer and fewer spaces wildlife can go to avoid people, so they are avoiding us in time because they cannot avoid us in space." Yet temporal avoidance is a behavioral adjustment, not proof of safety. As mammals seek refuge in the night, we continue filling it with artificial light. Darkness is their last sanctuary, and it is rapidly shrinking. Subscribe for more videos about what happens in nature after dark. Today, the boundary between day and night is vanishing. As we flood the dark with light, we strip away the last sanctuary for Earth's remaining wildlife. Saving the night is no longer about seeing the stars. It is about securing the survival of a world we barely understand.